It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the San Diego Padres. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be, here at Dodger Stadium. Game 2 of the 4-game series with San Diego. Dodgers winning last night. They've now beaten San Diego 5 of 7, and San Diego has also helped the Dodgers. They've split 12 meetings with the San Francisco Giants. On the mound tonight will be young Jesse Hahn out of Connecticut. Made his Major League debut in New York against the Mets. Not only beat them, he also picked up an RBI and a base hit to start off his big league career. He is 4-2 with the league. On the mound for the Dodgers, Dan Haren, and a very tough act to follow. Here in the last 14 games at Dodger Stadium, the Dodgers starters are 9-3, and the earned run average is 1.8. Well, one thing for Dan, he seems to pitch better here than he does on the road. He is 8-5, 4-1 at Dodger Stadium, and 4-4 on the road. The Dodgers, one game in front of the Giants. We'll be watching that game as well. So sit back, relax, enjoy the ball game, and a whole lot more coming up right after this.
Make their way into Dodger Stadium on a beautiful Friday evening as they get ready to take in Game 2 of a 4-game set between the San Diego Padres and your Los Angeles Dodgers. And fans, you don't want to miss this. The Dodgers will honor the longest tenured announcer with any sports franchise ever on Tuesday, July 29th. Be one of the first 40,000 fans in attendance at Dodger Stadium, and you'll take home a Vince Scully 65th anniversary microphone, compliments of Farmer John. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Hello, everybody, and welcome inside Dodger Stadium. I'm Alana Rizzo. Want to talk about a couple of key pieces to the Los Angeles Dodgers who are not in the starting lineup. First, we'll start with center fielder Andre Ethier, who is dealing with overall soreness, according to manager Don Mattingly. Ethier not starting for the second straight day, despite the fact there's a right-hander on the hill. Again, overall soreness, specifically in his legs. The Dodgers want to take care of the issue and make sure he's good to go after the break. Hanley Ramirez, a big night last night. The hit there, a key stolen base. He would eventually score on an Adrian Gonzalez sacrifice fly. He received a cortisone shot last night in his AC joint, still dealing with that shoulder soreness. If he absolutely has to play, he will. The Dodgers, however, hoping that they don't need to use Hanley Ramirez until after the break. Dan Herron on the bump tonight for the Los Angeles Dodgers, going for his 8th win of the season. He will be opposed by Jesse Hahn of the Padres. After the break, the legendary Vin Scully on the call. We'll be right back.
Stadium, the home of 4 National League All-Stars, Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke, then, of course, Guy Gordon and Yasiel Puig, National League All-Stars, and the Dodgers' finest. By the way, in looking at that picture, you see Clayton Kershaw. He is clean-shaven. So the 41 consecutive scoreless innings ended, and so did the beard. Meanwhile, the Dodgers have taken the field after we've seen the pregame ceremony, and the boys getting ready to go up against the San Diego Padres. By the way, the Giants will be playing Arizona, and we'll be keeping an eye on that one. Mike Bolsinger going up against Tim Lincecum, and with Tim Lincecum facing, among other people, Paul Goldschmidt. That'll be very interesting, but we'll concentrate on our game and then get feeds as far as Arizona is concerned. Let's take a look now for the visiting San Diego Padres. Bud Black's boys start with Seth Smith in the outfield. In right field, Chase Headley with the home run last night against Kershaw at third base. Carlos Quentin in left field. Yasmani Grandal behind the plate. Jake Gobert will take over at first base tonight. Rene Rivera, the catcher, forced to play first last night, and that didn't work very well with Tommy Medica out. Brooks Conrad at second base. Will Venable is in center field. Alexei Amarista, the shortstop, and Jesse Hahn on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, Dan Herron, a record of 8-5. 1-0 against San Diego this year, 6-4 lifetime. Dan has made 18 starts this year, and he's gotten into the 7th inning only 3 times. So it was a good thing that Clayton Kershaw went the distance last night. The bullpen is reasonably well rested, and we'll see how Dan goes now as Seth Smith starts him off. And Smith backs off, looks at a pitch for a strike, and the count 0-1. Seth Smith, among other things, is hitting .286 against Herron with 3 home runs. And the left-hand hitter takes off speed and away, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Gorgeous evening, temperature 72 degrees. Sunset time in Los Angeles, and the Dodgers and the Padres in Game 2. Aaron back with a pitch, a check swing for a strike, and the count 1-ball, 2 strikes. So Dan Herron, who's been successful at home, 4-1, and on the road 4-4, is 1-2 pitch on the way, high and away. 2-2 the count to Seth Smith. Dodgers load up the right side of the infield as Seth, left-hand batter, power hitter, waiting at the plate, and the 2-2 pitch coming up, and that's taken down and away. For Herron to start off 3-2 is a little bit of a surprise. He is number 1 in control of all the active pitchers. Number 1. So Dan ready, and his 3-2 pitch. Smith swings, hits a high pop fly back at first, down the line. Gordon crossing the line in foul ground and rams into the fence, still looking at the ball. And now Yasiel Puig comes over to make sure that D's all right. So Gordon hit that fence pretty hard, but whatever he says, both he and Puig begin to laugh. And D goes back to his position, and Puig takes his grin back into right field. You could tell that D. Gordon took one look at the wall, and then he was so concentrating, the wall just ate him up, but he's all right. So Gordon, smiling, goes back to his position, shaking his head over that collision with the wall. Puig probably teased him about, hey, you're taking my stuff away. Here's the 3-2 pitch to Seth Smith, and that's taken low, ball 4. So for the premier control pitcher in the of all active pitchers, bad way for Dan Herron to start. Let's take a look at the Dodgers defensively with the leather, and it shapes up Gonzalez and Gordon, Rojas and Uribe, Kemp, Van Slyke and Puig, Butera behind the plate, handling Herron. Hanley Ramirez, who among other things collided with Brooks Conrad at second base last night, has that sore shoulder, so he'll sit this one out for sure. Meanwhile, Chase Headley takes a slow curveball for a strike. Headley on a 2-2 count as Hanley Ramirez looks on, hit that home run in the 6th inning last night, fouled off 3 pitches with 2 strikes, and then broke the bubble and stopped the string of pearls at 41. Headley with 7 has 28 RBIs. His best year, he had 31 home runs, but he has never come close to that again. Chase switch hitter batting left-handed. Herron delivers, fouled off to the left out of play. That runs the count to 1-2. Last night had to be a big moment for Headley. After fouling off 3 pitches, he unloaded on what looked like a slider, just barely cleared the wall, and Clayton Kershaw, after 41 scoreless innings, gives up the run. So here is Headley now with a runner at first, nobody out, and a 1-2 pitch taken low and inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. We mentioned it, it's kind of news. Clayton Kershaw is clean shaven, and in this day and age of beards, he probably looks 5 years younger, and he's just a young man as it is. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way, and that's taken, strike 3 called. So Headley strikes out for the 3rd time in 5 at-bats, and we have 1 away, and Carlos Quentin coming up.
Left fielder number 18, Carlos Quentin.
Carlos Quentin, as he checks in at the plate, hitting just 165. He spent a good portion of the year banged up on the DL. Quentin 2 for 6 in the past against Dan Herron. So the pride of Stanford Carlos Quentin checks in, swings at the first pitch, lifting a high fly ball, but it's playable. Matt Kemp still on the grass, makes the catch, and then gets it back in. So Quentin, first ball swinging, flies to left, and we have 2 down. Yasmani Grandal coming in. So Quentin going back into the dugout with that puzzled look. So many major league hitters have it. He hit a long fly ball to left, and he went back as if to say, how in the world did he get me out on that pitch? So here is Grandal, who has done a very good job behind the plate, and last night did a wonderful job in handling Despaigne. Of course, they're both from Cuba. There was a Cuban connection. 2 down, first inning, no score. Off-speed pitch on the outside corner for a strike. Yasmani from Cuba, hitting .208, hitting .218 as a left-handed batter. All 7 home runs have been hit left-handed. Strike 1 pitch on the way is a slow curveball low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Talking about home runs, that has really been the bane of the existence of Dan Haren. He has allowed a total of 18 home runs this year, and most of them in the last few starts. 1-1 pitch on the way. Grandal takes low. 2-1 the count. Dan Haren walked Seth Smith, struck out Headley, got Quentin, first ball swinging. Padres trying to do something well on the road. They've lost 12 of the last 16. 2-1 pitch on the way, taken for a strike. Interesting for the Padres, if you look at San Diego's club, their batting average as a team is .215. They are last in the league. Runs scored, 275. They are last in the league. Next pitch is swung on and missed, foul tipped actually. But the big thing is they're last in hitting, last in runs scored, and they are 3rd in the National League West. As much as they have struggled, they're still ahead of Colorado and Arizona. Chris DeNorfia taking in the action along with Chase Headley. 2-2 pitch coming up, swung on, punched on the ground under the diving Uribe, on out into left center, picked up by Kemp, who gets the ball back in, and there are runners at first and third. So Uribe trying to smother the ground ball heading towards left field, but he couldn't do it with all of the other infielders on the right side. So Grandal, ground ball single. Uribe, an all-out effort, just missed it. First and third with 2 out, and the batter is Jake Gobert. Jake Gobert, young left-hand hitter, as Uribe shakes the dirt out of his glove. Gobert not up very long. They are very happy with him. Gobert came up from Sacramento, takes the first pitch low, ball 1. He's from Illinois and was originally a 13th round pick by the Astros. He was going to school at Northwestern. Remember big Kyle Blanks, who played for San Diego? Curveball is in, 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, Kyle Blanks went to the Oakland A's, and Gobert came to San Diego. 1-1 the count. Gobert will be 27 near the end of September, up there with a chance to hurt. The 1-1 pitch, slow curveball in for a strike. 1-2 the count. We mentioned Haren being plagued by home runs. In his first 7 starts, Dan allowed only 2 home runs. In his last 11 starts, he's allowed 16. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Gobert, the left-hand hitter, he has some sock. Hit 18 home runs a year ago in the minors. Pitch in the dirt, blocked nicely by Butera, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. So deuce is wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, and 2 on. You have Seth Smith at third, Yasmani Grandal at first, and Jake Gobert at the plate. Gobert's a farm boy, kind of a fun farm where he works. He has a look at a pitch off the plate. His family has this farm, and in the winter He calls it agritainment business. People come to the farm for 6 weeks out of the year for hay rides, a pumpkin patch, petting zoo, and wagon rides. Sounds like a delightful place on which to grow up. Jake Gobert. 3-2. There goes the running Asmani Grandal. A one-hopper hit hard. Gordon stays with it and throws him out. So a shaky first inning for Dan Herron, but he gets out of it. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left, and at the end of half an inning, no score. Years old in September. We told you that he has great control, so it was really upsetting for him to walk the leadoff man, but he still got out of the inning, but he had to spend 25 pitches to get out of it. So he's talking to Drew Butera and to his pitching coach, Rick Honeycutt. Here's the way the Dodgers stack up tonight. D. Gordon leading off at second base, followed by Yasiel Puig. Adrian Gonzalez moves up to hit third. Matt Kemp in cleanup in left field. Then Scott Van Slyke in center. Juan Uribe at third. Miguel Rojas instead of Hanley Ramirez at short. Drew Butera behind the plate. And Dan Herron on the mound. On the mound for San Diego, Jesse Hahn. He had Tommy John surgery before he was ever a major league pitcher. In fact, before he was a professional in August of 2010, and he finally played professionally in 2012. From Groton, Connecticut, big fella, 6'5", 190. He'll be 25 the end of the month. And D. Gordon will start him off. D. shows bunt, takes low, ball 1. Gordon, in the last 18 games, has stolen only 3 bases. So that comes a little bit of a shock. Pitchers are really watching him. And remember, he has 42 stolen bases. He takes another one low, and they count 2 balls and no strikes. So D. Gordon hitting .298. Hahn into the windup, and his 2-0 pitch, good fastball in for a strike, and they count 2-1. It was June of this year when Jesse Hahn went to Citi Field in New York to face the New York Mets. 2-1 pitch is a breaking ball fouled off. It's the same place where his former high school teammate Matt Harvey pitched so well last year. And from all reports, Jesse Hahn was poised and relaxed. He had his family, his parents, and a lot of friends from Connecticut sitting right behind his dugout. 2-2 pitch, poked down to shortstop. Amaristi gets it over to Gobert in time for the out, and we have 1 down. We can take a look at the Dodgers and the Padres. We've seen the Dodgers defensively. Here's San Diego. Gobert and Conrad, Amarista and Headley, Quentin, Venable, and Smith. Randall behind the plate, and Jesse Hahn on the mound. Checking in now, Yasiel Puig, who found it very funny when D. Gordon hit the fence in left field. Almost one of those, well, welcome to the club. Yasiel hitting .306, 12 home runs, 50 runs batted in, takes a pitch on the outside corner for a strike, and the count 0-1. On deck, hitting third in the lineup, Adrian Gonzalez. Strike one, pitch on the way, fastball low and inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Hahn basically no trick pitches, fastball and a curve, hard slider and a change. 1-1 pitch on the way, looked like the change inside, ball 2, 2-1 the count. If you wonder how come Jesse Hahn got here, the Padres sent infielder Logan Forsythe and a bunch of others to Tampa Bay. 2-1 pitch is low, ball 3. Hahn was a 6th round pick by the Rays out of Virginia Tech in 2010. 3-1 pitch coming up to Yasiel Puig, and that's way low and outside, ball 4. So the Dodgers get a base runner in Puig, and the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. Couple of quick notes on Hahn as far as what to expect. If you pull the ball on him, you're going to be very successful. If you hit the ball up the middle or to the opposite field, the hitters are batting just .163. When a right-hand hitter pulls, they're hitting .500, and when a left-hand hitter pulls, they're hitting .364. So we shall see as Adrian Gonzalez, now the veteran, will test the rookie. Hahn ready, looks over his shoulder at first, works the plate and gets a strike, and the count 0-1. Adrian Gonzalez, the big man, the butter and egg man, 14 home runs, 59 RBIs, leads the Dodgers in both categories. Struggling a bit in batting average, however, hitting .252. Strike one, pitch on the way. Adrian holds up. It's off the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike. Of course, this Dodger lineup certainly figures to give the numbers 3, 4, and 5 hitters chances to drive in runs. When you have D. Gordon at the top of the heap, followed by Yasiel Puig, you figure to get some action. And, of course, they both run very well. Here's the 1-1 pitch coming up. Hahn at the belt. Young right-hander at 6'5", comes back with a fastball. That's foul back. His fastball right now at 92. It has been clocked, we understand, anywhere from 93 to 98. We'll see about that. So a 4-seamer and the sinking 2-seamer. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Puig at first base, stretching as he takes his lead. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way to Adrian. Instead, throw to first. Yasiel goes back to the bag, standing up. No score. We're just starting. Bottom of the first inning. It certainly appears that Jesse Hahn is happy to have Yasmani Grandal as his catcher. Right-hander ready. And the 1-2 pitch, Adrian tries to time one, pulls it too much down the line, and the count remains 1-2. The reason I'm sure he's happy to have Grandal, with Yasmani as his catcher, his earned run average is 1.4. With Rene Rivera as his catcher this year, 9.6. What that really means, 4 earned runs in 3 innings. So it's not really an indictment of Rivera. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Adrian pulls it on the ground, picked up by Conrad, who plays to first, and Puig advances to second. So Gonzalez grounds out, 2 down. Puig at second base, and Matt Kemp coming up. Matt Kemp last night was 1 for 4. And the thing I'm sure that frosted him more than anything else, he was caught looking for third strikes on fastballs. And of course, normally he feasts on those pitches, so it shows he was doing a lot of thinking last night, and he was unable to think along with Despagne. First time the Dodgers ever seen the young Cuban. So Matt checks in, Hahn looks back at Puig. Now to the plate. Fastball low in the dirt. Nice scoop there by Grandal. 1 ball and no strikes. Well, the Giants are off and running. Lincecum set Arizona down 1-2-3, and then Pablo Sandoval homered with Brandon Belt aboard. So the Giants in the first inning lead Arizona 2-0. Dodgers have Puig in scoring position with 2 out. Matt Kemp trying to pick up Puig. Right-hander ready. Hahn delivers. Line drive, base hit. High breaking ball. Here comes Puig to score easily. So Matt got a pitch he wanted and singles to left to drive in the run. Well, Matt, his 35th RBI, and the Dodgers take a 1-0 lead. It was a high breaking ball. I'm not sure if it was a hanging curve or a slider that went nowhere, but it wound up on a line. It was up. Yeah, it was a breaking ball, and he bangs it into left field. So 1-0 Dodgers as Matt Kemp drives it in. Puig scores easily, and the batter now will be Scott Van Slyke. So Matt takes his lead. Dodgers have already broken through Jess Hahn. We'll tell you why. Opponents were hitting 125 with runners in scoring position. So that didn't last long. Puig at second and Kemp singled him in. 1-0 Dodgers. Van Slyke waits. Jesse Hahn delivers, and it is swung on and missed. It had to be the 2-seamer. It looked like he had a little sink to it. 0-1 the count to Scott Van Slyke. Hahn, who works from the first base side of the rubber, barely on the corner of the rubber. And the strike 1 pitch on the way. He looks at Kemp, delivers, and is a drive very playable. Out there waiting for it is Venable, and that'll be that. Dodgers get a run on a walk, a ground out, and then Matt Kemp hits a breaking ball into left field for a single, and at the end of an inning, 1-0 Dodgers. As we go to the second inning, it'll be Brooks Conrad, Will Venable, Alexei Amarista. Brooks Conrad, born in San Diego, so I guess he was born to play for the Padres. Switch hitter, batting left-handed, takes off the plate, ball 1. Conrad lives in Gilbert, Arizona. Last night, he was 0 for 3, couple of fly balls. 1-0 pitch on the way is swung on and missed. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. So Dan Herron given a 1-0 lead. That's not much, but he'll take it. Giants, meanwhile, give Lincecum a 2-0 lead. as they move on to the second inning. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way, swung on and missed. Interesting, if the Dodgers score first this year, as they've done it tonight, they are 42-15. And if the opponents score first, the Dodgers are 10-27. 1-2 pitch on the way, swung on and missed. And down goes Conrad. So 1 down. Dan Haren, as we told you, there's no place like home for Dan. He is 4-1 here and 4-4 on the road. His earned run average swollen over 5 on the road and under 3 at home. Big thing for Dan Haren right now is the fact it's a tough act to follow. The last 14 games the Dodgers have played at Dodger Stadium, the team has gone 10-4. The starters have gone 9-3 with an earned run average of 1.8. I mean, starting pitching has been magnificent. 2 quick strikes to Will Venable, the veteran, playing center field. Venable last night came up as a pinch hitter and flied to right field. Haren ready. Dan comes back 0-2, works a fastball high and away. We've always mentioned it because it seems unusual. Haren pitches like an Asian pitcher. He hesitates right there before delivering. Breaking ball is swung on and missed, but it gets by Butera, and down to first base goes Venable. So we will see how they're going to rule that. Looked like a breaking ball down. Butera had it get right through his legs, and it's going to be a wild pitch. Yep. And Butera did everything right, and the ball just didn't come up for him. He'll turn the glove backhand, then turn it back, and it goes under the glove to the backstop. So a strikeout and a wild pitch. Venable is aboard, and the batter is the very pesky Alexi Amarista. Good shortstop, 1 for 3 last night. At 5'7", he gives away an awful lot to the other big leaguers, but he is a little man who does a big job. Amarista waiting. Left-hand batter. Haren ready. Here he comes, and it's in for a high strike. Doesn't have to be too high, as we said. Amarista hitting .229. No balls and 1 strike to count. Throw to first. Back on the bag is Venable. Venable has stolen 3 bases, but he's only break even. 3 out of 6. He's done better than that in the past. So Venable a cautious lead. Haren ready to deliver, and he's off the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Will Venable stole as many as 29 bases for the Padres. Stole 22 last year, 24 the year before. The next pitch of the plate very high, ball 2. 2-1 the count to Alexi Amarista. We always talk about players playing hurt, playing with heartbreak in the background in their youth growing up. Amarista certainly had his heart broken, and it was only 4 years ago. 2-1 pitch. Alexi fouls it away. Alexi had spoken by telephone to his father after playing a Venezuelan league game, and a couple of hours later he was told his father was shot to death in a home invasion robbery in Venezuela. And what do? You pick up the pieces and you hang in there and keep going. 2-2 the count to Alexi. Here comes Haren. 2-2. Fastball hit in the air to right field. Puig going back. It's carrying. He's now at the wall. It's going to carry over the right field wall. A light breeze blowing from left to right, and Haren now has given up 19 home runs and 17 home runs in the last 12 starts. So Amarista hits it out. If you wonder about him, last year he had 5 home runs. He got a pitch up, The ball didn't look like it was going to go out. Puig kept going back as if he had a play, and the breeze, which has died down, so it was somewhat providential. I think the breeze actually helped the ball clear the right field wall. So just like that, it's 2-1 San Diego, and a fastball down and in, and that picks up a strike. So Amarista gives the Padres a lead. Now Hahn swings, doesn't get it. 0-2 the count. Hahn, in his major league debut against the Mets, had a base hit, his first of his career, and a run batted in. He takes a pitch off the plate, and the count 1-2. So as far as Dan Haren is concerned, up jumped the devil in Alexi Amarista. And the 1-2 breaking ball is down and away. 2-2 the count to Hahn. Dan ready. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way. Swung on and missed. That takes care of Hahn. However, remember, it was a strikeout on a wild pitch that gave the Padres a runner. And then Amarista hits the home run.
Right fielder number 12, Seth Smith.
So this is one of those rare nights. Dan Haren has struck out the side, but he still has to pitch. Struck out Conrad, struck out Venable on a wild pitch, gave up the home run, then strikes out Hahn. So Dan Reddy working on Seth Smith, and he takes off speed and away, ball one. Smith, as mentioned earlier, has hurt Dan in the past. 3 home runs against him. Left-hand hitting outfielder, fouls it away off to the left out of play. Smith walked in the first inning, which came as a shock in the sense that Haren just doesn't walk people, and you certainly don't expect him to walk the leadoff man, but he got away with it. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way, and that's a breaking ball hit to the middleman on the grass. D. Gordon to throw him out. Well, we've mentioned a couple of times D. Gordon has taken ground balls on the grass on the infield so that he can make a play like that, 5-10 feet out on the grass in right field. Fine play by D, as hard a working man as the Dodgers have, and it's 2-1 San Diego. Third home run of the year with a man aboard. He now has 13 home runs in his major league career, and San Diego takes a 2-1 lead into the bottom of the second inning. For the Dodgers, Uribe, Rojas, and Butera, and for Dan Haren, somewhat stunned, I'm sure. You know, he struck out the side, and he has 4 strikeouts in 2 innings, but up jumped the home run ball. Well, that happened to him last time out. He struck out 8, and the Dodgers lost that game 7-1. The pitch to Uribe way off the plate, ball 1. 1-0 the count to Juan. Uribe with 5 home runs, 26 RBIs, hitting just under 300. Fouls a pitch back, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. It's Uribe, followed by Rojas and Butera, with Dan Haren hitting 4th in the lineup. Jesse Hahn turns on the rubber. Fastball, and that's just off the plate. 2 balls and 1 strike to count. I guess you have to have big league nerves to break in the way he did in New York, Citi Field, parents sitting directly behind the dugout. Boy, Uribe way out in front of a breaking ball, slow curve. Jesse Hahn went to school at Virginia Tech. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way. Down and away, ball 3. 3-2 the count. Hahn won 6 strong innings against the Mets and allowed just 1 hit. Padres won that game 5-0. Waiting is Miguel Rojas. 3-2 the count. And the next pitch is swung on and missed off speed, and Uribe way out in front of it. So 1 down in the 2nd inning. Hahn picks up his first strikeout. Slow, and it must have looked like a basketball. Just out of the strike zone, but it had to look so big, and Uribe had to take a swipe. So 1 away here in the 2nd inning. Miguel Rojas coming up. Finished up last night's game for Hanley Ramirez, and Rojas had an infield single. That was when Rene Rivera fielded his ball, tried to get it to the pitcher covering, and threw it over his head, and Rojas wound up at second base. If you go 3-2 in the count against Hahn, you are at a distinct disadvantage. Here's the strike 1 pitch, little chopper to third. Headley plenty of time, throws it for the 2nd out, and Drew Butera coming up. With the count 3-2, Hahn does not give in. Hitters are now 0 for 15 against him on a full count. If the count is 1-2, the opponents are 1 for 23. He can be something, this young man. Jesse Hahn. Stepping in now, Drew Butera. Butera hitting .202. Backup catcher to A.J. Ellis, and takes low, ball 1. Dodgers got a run, and the Padres came right back with 2. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way. Fastball, that's down and away. 2-0 the count. Jesse Hahn is 6'5", about 190, and Butera waiting on a 2-0 count. Jesse ready. Back he comes, way off the plate. 3-0 the count. So on the edge of giving up a walk, he walked Puig, and it cost him a run. 3-0 down the pipe with a fastball. 3-1. When Hahn beat the Mets, he stopped and snapped the Padre 5-game losing streak. 3-1 pitch on the way, and that's taken off the plate for ball 4. So he has walked 2. The other one, he walked Puig, who scored on a base hit by Matt Kemp. So the batter now is Dan Haren. Haren, not a bad hitting pitcher. He has 5 hits, including a double. He has 4 runs batted in, and he has struck out a third of the time. So Haren, right-hand batter, checks in, batting $1.50, and first pitch in for a strike. 0-1. Among his many abilities, Jesse Hahn is a good barber. Here's the strike one pitch. Herron takes a high strike. He's had good hair cutting skills. As he said, I've been cutting hair for a couple of years. I did it with the Rays, now with the Padres. Now a couple of guys are begging me to come and get haircuts. Strike two pitch on the way. Third strike fastball. That one up around the letters. Herron unable to take a swing, and Hahn jogs off, leaving Butera at first. And at the end of two, it's 2-1 San Diego. San Diego, and don't forget Sunday. On Sunday, the Dodgers and Padres at 1:10, and the first 40,000 fans in attendance take home a portable speaker. Compliments of State Farm. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Sunset time in Los Angeles. Gorgeous evening, 72 degrees. Chase Headley, Carlos Quentin, and Yasani Grandal. 2-1 San Diego on a two-run home run by Alexei Amarista. Herron ready now, comes to the hitter, off speed and away. Ball one, 1-0. Padres have had a lot of players banged up. The 1-0 pitch on the way, taken for a strike. Yonder Alonso, Everett Cabrera. Jake Gobert is okay. He's back. Jerko is still out. They really miss him. And Tommy Medici had a tight groin, had to come out of last night, and probably will not play again until after the All-Star break. 1-2 the count. Then when you get down to their pitchers, they lost Andrew Kashner. That is a huge loss. They also lost Erlin. So the 1-2 pitch on the way, swung on and missed. And so Headley strikes out for the fourth time in 6 at-bats. But he hit the big home run in the 6th inning against Clayton Kershaw. Pitch just seemed to sail away. Headley comes up empty. So 1 out in the 3rd. That's the 5th strikeout for Dan Herron. But again, the home run has hurt him. 2-1 San Diego. Carlos Quentin, first ball swinging, fly to left field in the 1st inning. Herron ready, starts him low and away. 1 ball and no strikes. Carlos, who is banged up a good portion of the year, has 4 home runs. Swings, doesn't get the next one. 1-1 the count. Quentin has been in 42 games. Padres have played 92. That's a pretty good layout of 50 games. 1-1 pitch on the way. Breaking ball, but low, ball 2, 2-1 the count. We told you the Giants are leading 2-0 against Arizona. There's a lot of talk about what's wrong with the Giants. They're now leading 4-0 in the third inning. Here's the 2-1 pitch, swung on foul to the plate. I'll tell you one reason the Giants are struggling. They have lost the services of Angel Pagan. You know, the Giants with Pagan, 12 games above 500, 37-25. Without him, 4 games under 500. A huge switch. A major reason why the Giants are one back. Quentin pops one up in foul ground. Adrian Gonzalez makes the catch. And we have 2 down here in the third inning.
Coming to the plate, catcher number 8.
However, tonight, without Pagan, the Giants are out in front in a hurry. Brandon Crawford had a base hit. Lincecum squeezed in a run. So 4-0 San Francisco. It's 2-1 San Diego. We're in the top of the third inning. Yasmani Grandal. They load up the right side of the infield. That leaves Uribe all alone on the left. And Grandal got the ball by Uribe's gloved side despite a head dive by Juan. Couldn't get to it, couldn't knock it down. It went on through into left center. No balls and 1 strike. Fastball away. 1-1 the count. Dodgers starting pitching in the last 14 games has been brilliant here. Another pitch down and away, 2-1. Dodgers have won 10 of 14, and with people like Greinke and Kershaw et al., the starters 9-3 and an earned run average of 1.8. Next pitch foul back by Grandal. Though with 2 out, bases empty, 2-2 the count to Yasmani. Grandal waiting. Aaron ready. And the right-hander hesitates and Grandal backs out. Yasmani was born in Havana. He lives in Miami Springs in Florida. Went to the University of Miami. Came over from Cuba when he was 13. Pitch swung on foul back. We are not getting into politics, you can bet, but it kind of gave me an uneasy feeling to realize that Vladimir Putin arrived in Havana. And the first things, as I understand it, the Russians did, they forgave Cuba something like a $37 billion debt. And you wonder, wait a minute, he's given up that money. What does he want in return? Anyway, thank goodness for baseball. 3-2 pitch foul back. I mean, if you lived back in 1962 and you remember John Kennedy, the missiles in Cuba, the blockade. Sorry I brought it up. I wish he had been born in Brooklyn. Yasmani Grandal. 3-2 pitch on the way. Swung on. High fly ball. Very playable. Waiting for it is the Beard. Van Slyke puts it away. And that'll do it for the Padres in the third inning. And at the end of 2.5 innings, San Diego 2 and the Dodgers 1. Diego. D. Gordon will lead it off. He made a good play on a ball hit by Seth Smith back in the second inning. Left-hand hitter really drilled it, and D into the slide, then came up through a strike, and that was the end of this second inning. Now Gordon will try to start something here in the bottom of the third. Every game we salute a veteran, from World War II right up to the current time in Afghanistan. And I was thinking how sad all of us had to feel when we lost Lou Zamperini. You know, Lou Zamperini was a famous miler. There were three great milers: Glenn Cunningham, Archie San Romani, and Lou Zamperini. And Zamperini had the most incredible story you could ever hear. He passed away at 97. Unfortunately, he was to be the Grand Marshal of the Rose Parade 2015. Strike one pitch to D. Gordon. He has a look and pays the price. 0-2 the count. Terrific book. If you ever want to read a very exciting book, but more than that, you will shake your head in wonderment. Gordon takes inside. The book's called Unbroken, and it's all about Lou Zamperini. His airplane crashes. He spends, I think it's 48 days on a raft with sharks and everything else that goes with it. Ground ball into right field by the diving Jake Gobert. So Gordon is aboard, and the Dodgers now down by one, trying to come back.
Right fielder number 66.
So D is 1 for 2. Yasiel Puig will be coming up. It was a curveball, and for D. Gordon, he went down to get it right at the end of the break. Jake Gobert diving, came up empty, and Gordon is aboard. So the Dodgers have gotten at least one man on base in every inning. Now Puig and Gonzalez. Yasiel walked, scored the Dodger run in the first inning. Padres lead 2-1. Gordon off the bag, draws a throw. Remember, we told you that D has stolen only 3 bases in the last 18 games. Certainly one reason the pitchers are really keeping their eye out on him now. So Gordon, the top dog with 42 stolen bases, trying to upset young Jesse Hahn. Right-hander looks over at him, now straightens up. And the first pitch to Yasiel Puig, a pitch out. 1 ball and no strikes. Little dangerous to call a pitch out, but Bud Black has certainly been around long enough to understand. We say dangerous only in the sense that Hahn has already walked a man in each of the first 2 innings. But that shows you the impact that D. Gordon has on the opposition. So 1 ball and no strikes. Hahn ready. The next pitch off the plate. So now he's in a hole, 2-0. Probably a little upset just by the presence of Gordon over there at first base. Hahn takes another look. D increases 1 stride. Held on by Gobert. 2 balls and no strikes the count to Yasiel Puig. Hahn very deliberate. There goes Gordon, a 2-0 pitch, a chopper to short. No play at second base. So Amarista throws to first. So the Dodgers get Gordon to second, but they wanted more than that as Puig grounds out. And now the tying run at second base. Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Beautiful evening. Fine game. Hope you'll join us tomorrow night. Ian Kennedy will be pitching for San Diego. Dodgers are not quite sure. They'll announce their pitcher depending upon what takes place tonight. Gonzalez grounded out to second baseman Conrad. Adrian, after the first one, doesn't get it, and the count 0-1. 2 runs, 2 hits for San Diego. Strike 3 on a wild pitch allowed Venable to reach first, and Amarista then hit a home run. 0-1 the count. Hahn ready and comes back. Fastball sliced to left. Going over is Quentin to make the catch. Gordon bluffs, and the throw a one-hopper to Headley, so D had nowhere to go. The Gonzalez fly ball to left field. We told you that if you try to go the other way on Hahn, the chances are you will not succeed. The best way to beat him so far, anyway, the book says you have to pull the ball. If you don't pull, hitters who go to the middle or the opposite field were hitting 165. The Gordon got himself a pull single to right, but Adrian a fly ball to left. And the batter now is Matt Kemp. He got a breaking ball and knocked in a run in the first inning. Starts him with a breaking ball, swung on and missed. The previous breaking ball was up, and Matt had it right out over the plate and singled sharply to left for his 35th run batted in. 8 home runs. Kemp waiting with 2 out, tying run at second and D. Gordon. And the strike one pitch on the way. Jesse Hahn, very deliberate, turns off the rubber, a bluff for Gordon to get back to the bag. Matt Kemp in the first inning came up, got a breaking ball and singled sharply to left. Scoring easily was Puig. That's the Dodger run, but they're a buck short right now. Padres lead 2-1. Strike one pitch on the way. Another breaking ball, check swing for a strike. Matt angry at himself for chasing it. And the count 0-2. Last night, Matt visibly upset at himself for taking fastballs for strike 3. This time a pitch in the dirt, and he couldn't hold up. No balls and 2 strikes, the count to Matt Kemp. Jesse Hahn out of his stretch. Young right-hander looks back at Gordon. Strike 2 pitch, breaking ball down in the dirt. This time Kemp doesn't offer. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Matt leads the Dodgers in strikeouts with 83. Yasiel Puig is right back of him at 74. 2 very aggressive hitters, so understandably they do pay the price. Puig scored the run in the first inning, grounded out here in the third. 1-2 the count. Matt waits, Hahn at the belt. Jesse delivers fastball away at 92, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. So again, Gordon pulled the ball and got a base hit to right. Kemp pulled the ball and got a base hit to left to drive in Puig. And then Gonzalez hit a fly ball to left, and that's not what beats Hahn. 2-2 pitch coming up. Jesse delivers, big overhand breaking ball in the dirt, and he goes 3-2. However, as we told you, he's been very effective on a 3-2 count. The hitters so far are 0 for 15 on a 3-2 count. Waiting on deck, Scott Van Slyke. 3-2 to Matt Kemp. Jesse Hahn set at the belt. Ready, right-handed delivers. Big, slow curveball inside. Ball 4. 3 walks. That's a walk an inning. Bud Black not happy about that. And the Dodgers, after seeing that slow curveball miss inside, now Scott Van Slyke, who flied to center in the first inning. Two on, 2 out. Darren Balsley has been summoned to the mound. He was sent out there by Bud Black. I'm not sure. Maybe they didn't like that big, slow 3-2 pitch. So Balsley with the young battery, Yasmani Grandal and Jesse Hahn. Two on, 2 out, 2-1 San Diego. Bottom of the third, a beautiful evening. Cotton candy sky, 72 degrees. Hardly a breeze. Couldn't ask for a nicer evening. So let's see now what happens, whether Hahn can fight his way out of the jam or no. And Scott Van Slyke will test him. Right-hander at the belt, checks Gordon, back with a fastball, and it's foul back to the screen. So that might very well have what they sent out. The message was, hey, wait a minute, you go 3-2 and you throw that big sloppy overhand curveball. You're 25 years old and you can throw in the 90s. 0-1 to count to Scott Van Slyke. Hahn again at the belt, another full turn to chase Gordon back to the bag. Van Slyke hitting .270, doing a wonderful job in center field. 8 home runs, 16 runs batted in. Andre Ethier not worn out, but he's banged up and tired. A lot of leg problems, foul balls. So Andre getting a well-deserved rest. 0-1 to count to Scott Van Slyke. Hahn at the belt, checking the run, is very deliberate and backs off the rubber. In talking about Andre Ethier, Don Mattingly said still trying to take care of him. He's got soreness, leg issues, other issues. We want to make sure he's okay on the other side of the break. It's more than just making sure he's feeling good body-wise. He just lost some energy. Meanwhile, 1 ball and 1 strike to count to Scott Van Slyke. Jesse Hahn made 35 pitches in the first 2 innings, though he's now made 17 in this inning. 1-1 pitch coming up. Van Slyke swings a little late on a breaking ball. 1-2 the count. Van Slyke, of course, lifts that big leg, and then by the time he got that swing, the ball was just about in Grandal's mitt. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Another breaking ball swung on and missed, and that'll do it for the Dodgers as Van Slyke strikes out. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left, and at the end of 3, 2-1 San Diego. By Jack in the Box. Head to Jack in the Box for the new Jalapeno Ranch or Barbecue Ultimate Cheeseburgers at participating restaurants. And by the Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2014 Truck of the Year and first ever back-to-back champion. 4th inning, 2-1 in favor of San Diego. The Dodgers, remember, they have beaten San Diego 5 of 7, and the San Diego Padres have certainly done the Dodgers a big favor. They have split 12 games with the Giants. Jay Gobert, the first baseman, grounded out in the first inning, 0 for 1. 1 ball and 1 strike. If you joined us a little late, Puig walked and scored on Matt Kemp's single in the first inning. Line drive and speared by Adrian Gonzalez. So Gobert hits it hard, but right at a Gold Glove, 1 away. That'll bring up Brooks Conrad. I guess that ball had a little action on it. Gonzalez speared it, then turned, and in pantomime, letting Gordon know that ball was really moving. So 1 away. Conrad struck out in the second inning. Ball 1. Padre runs. Venable struck out on what turned out to be a wild pitch. So he was aboard when Amarista hit a home run. So it is 2-1 San Diego in the 4th inning. Conrad played some football in high school and junior college. 5'11", 190. His father not only built a little batting cage in the backyard, then his father went out and bought a pitching machine. A young man's dream. High pop fly, shallow center, Rojas. 2 down in the 4th inning, and Will Venable coming up. Will Venable struck out on what turned out to be a wild pitch. It also turned out to be a huge break,
Will Venable.
because that allowed Amarista to come up with a man aboard, and the shortstop hit it out. Amarista twice had a 5 home run year, and he has 3 home runs so far this year. They give him 13 in his major league career. So dynamite comes in small packages. That's slapped into left field. So Venable just goes the other way, singles to left, and that'll bring up Amarista. Alexei came up in the 2nd inning with Venable aboard and 1 out. Got a pitch up, out over the plate. Fly ball, not to take anything away from it, but there was a pretty good breeze blowing from left to right. And when Puig broke back, I'm sure he thought he had a play. But the ball just carried, and over the wall she went. Certainly not trying to take anything away from him. Alexei takes ball 1. 2 down, Venable at first. Venable, as we mentioned earlier, in the past has stolen a lot of bases. He's stolen 3 so far this year. Breaking ball, strike, 1-1. Two runs, 3 hits for San Diego, 1 run, 2 hits for the Dodgers. We're in the 4th inning. And ball 2. Well, for the Giants, they got some good news. We mentioned the fact that they really hurt without Angel Pagan. Tonight, they activated Marcos Scudero, who will start at second base tomorrow. And of course, Scudero was indeed a giant. There goes Venable, a pitch outside, the throw, too late. Venable got a good jump and steals second. Gutierrez's throw was accurate enough, but when you get a jump like that, pretty hard to get the runner. The Will Diggs, pitch outside, throw high, the tag late, and a stolen base. Venable now has stolen 4 out of 7. Going head first, he risks having that left hand stepped on inadvertently. In fact, he looks at the left hand. Rojas, in covering, almost stepped on the hand. Another reason to slide feet first. D. Gordon coming over to cover at second base. They're going to walk Amarista now, and they will go after Jesse Hahn. So Amarista gets the intentional walk. For Amarista, that would be the second intentional walk he's received this year.
Number 35, Jesse Hahn.
Jesse Hahn struck out in the second inning. Dan Herron trying to use him to get out of the inning. 2-1 Padres, top of the fourth. Ball one. Pressure on Herron now to get Hahn. Fellow who has hurt him in the past, Seth Smith, on deck. Fastball, and he's behind 2-0. How important is Seth Smith to Dan Herron? Well, he came in hitting .310 against Dan with a couple of home runs against him. And now maybe worrying so much about Seth Smith, he's fallen behind 3-0 to the opposing pitcher. But Don Mattingly certainly a spot to worry. 3 balls, no strikes. Fastball makes it 3-1. Herron for years reared back, fired, 16-game winner twice. But of course the years take the toll. His fastball now in the 80s. Chopper up to short. Rojas winds up, throws to first. So Herron does a little high wire act, but makes it to the other side. No runs, a hit, a walk, 2 left. And at the end of 3.5, it's still 2-1 San Diego. With the Padres and the Dodgers will take home a Pee Wee Reese and Roy Campanella bobblehead, compliments of United Healthcare. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. For any one of you who was there, you will remember May the 7th, 1959. It put the heart right in your throat watching Roy Campanella wheeled out to the mound. Johnny Padres takes a little toss from Roy. Pee Wee Reese, the captain of the Dodgers, the great Campy. Born in a section of Philadelphia aptly named Nicetown. Beautiful man. Actually, he had so much of an impression on so many people. His wheelchair really became a throne. There they are. Well, we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. We sure hope you'll be out there to get that joint bobblehead. For those of us who are fortunate enough to have seen it, oh, not these little guys. They're in a world all their own. You could just look at them, couldn't you? I mean, nothing's happening, and Mom says, cool it. Just wait till we do something. And meanwhile, the Tiger, he's got his hands full. Finger licking good. What's the score? Who really cares? Me either. Take a drink of water. Yeah, it's fun to watch him. Meanwhile, as that young man is in good hands, having a sip of water, here's Juan Uribe. 1 ball and 1 strike. Uribe struck out in the second inning, swinging from the heels at some slow pitches. Hahn has made 56 pitches. His last game against the Giants, he went 7 and made 101 pitches. That would be his high. Uribe checking with the plate umpire, Tony Randazzo. Did I swing at a strike? 1-2. Another breaking ball off speed. That's what he's going to do with Uribe. If Juan is looking for a fastball, he's going to have to put an ad in the paper. You talk about swinging from the heels at nothing.
Number 72,
and not close to the strike zone either. Tony Randazzo, the plate umpire, who was a baseball player in college at Iowa Western Community College. He's from Chicago, and he's been umpiring in the big leagues over 15 years. So here's Rojas. 0-1 the count to Miguel. One of the interesting things, they're wondering about an explosion at AT&T Park. Paul Goldschmidt facing Tim Lincecum. In Goldschmidt's career, he's hitting .577 against Lincecum with 7 home runs, 17 runs batted in. Lincecum, starting tonight, has lost his last 5 against Arizona. However, he is seeking to win 4 consecutive starts for the first time since 2010. And last we heard, Giants had a comfortable 4-0 lead. Fastball on the hands. Amarista makes his play, and just like that, 2 down. And that'll bring up Drew Butera, who walked in the second inning. Jesse Hahn has walked 3, 1 in each inning. Dan Herron waiting on deck. Butera checks in. Starts him with a low fastball. 1 ball and no strikes. Tomorrow night, Ian Kennedy definitely for San Diego. Dodgers not sure. Sunday, Tyson Ross. And by the way, our heartiest congratulations to Tyson Ross. The young pitcher with San Diego will represent the Padres at the All-Star game in Minneapolis. Well, Tyson will be on the mound Sunday against Hyun-Jin Ryu. Fastball at the knees. 2-1. Fastball. Long throw by Headley, right on the money. And the Dodgers, for the first time tonight, are retired in order at the end of 4, 2-1. San Diego, as we look at a moment out of the past. Pee Wee Reese kneeling in front of Roy Campanella. The flash bulbs going off. That was a night to remember. As we go to the 5th inning, San Diego leading the Dodgers 2-1. 2-run home run by Alexi Amarista and a line drive single by Matt Kemp to score Yasiel Puig. It's still the starting pitchers, Dan Haren and Jesse Hahn. Seth Smith has walked and robbed of a hit on a splendid play by D. Gordon in the 2nd inning. A tough hitter, and especially for Dan Haren. Seth came into the game hitting about .290 with 3 home runs against Haren. One ball and no strikes. Seth out of Jackson, Mississippi, was a 2nd-round pick 10 years ago out of the University of Mississippi, drafted by the Rockies. Put up some pretty good numbers. Takes a strike. He had 17 home runs, 15 home runs. Then he went to the A's and hit 14. 1-2 the count to Seth. And strokes that thing towards the gap, and it's going to drop. So Puig plays it on a hop and gets it back in. So Smith could be 2 for 2 to continue to bother Haren. He's 1 for 2.
Third baseman, number 7.
And the batter will be Chase Headley. A little breaking ball, and Seth just went down and got it. 2 runs, 4 hits for San Diego. Headley, ball 1, has struck out twice. Struck out his last at bat last night, so he struck out 3 in a row. He has struck out 4 times in 6 at bats, but he had that big his home run last night. That's a strike. One and 1 to count. The difference in the game right now is a home run hit by Alexi Amarista. Now he is listed as 5'6" on some charts and 5'7" at the other. Either way, for a big league player, he's on the small side. That's going to go foul down the line. The reason we bring that up, Baseball Reference says that the only player shorter than Alexi Amarista to hit a home run at Dodger Stadium was Albie Pearson, who played for the Angels. Albie was 5'5", and that was way back in 1965. 2-2. Two balls and 2 strikes to Chase Headley. Nobody out. Seth Smith at first. Slap foul. When Headley hit his home run, I think the count was 2-2, and he fouled off 3 pitches. Just low for ball 3. Now the question is, would you run Seth Smith? Seth Smith, 1 stolen base, caught once. Haren just missing. So this is a big pitch. We'll watch Smith. Seth goes, and it's fouled off. With 3 men on the right side of the infield, it was interesting. Since Smith was going and Headley was batting left-handed, 2 men broke to cover. Miguel Rojas broke, and so did Juan Uribe. In fact, Uribe got to the bag ahead of Rojas. Now they'll check like any double play combination. You would expect Uribe would cover with a left-hand hitter. There goes the runner. Uribe covers. Fly ball to deep center. Back to the track. Van Slyke can't make the play. Here comes Smith around third. He's going to come and score on a long double by Chase Headley. So Seth Smith singles and Chase Headley doubles high off the center field wall. And the Padres take a 3-1 lead. Scott Van Slyke did everything he could without knocking down the fence. Fastball around the knees. Scotty went, it actually hit his glove and then bounced back. So he might have caught it. He reaches up. Yep, hit him right in the pocket and then came out. The scorer will say, I'm sure it took a good play to catch it, and he couldn't catch it, so it'll go as a double. Chris Perez is throwing in the Dodger bullpen. Rick Honeycutt is on his way out to the mound, and Scotty did everything but knock off his beard. So 3-1 San Diego, the one that got away. Yasiel Puig over to talk. Meanwhile, Chase Headley has to be happy talking to even an umpire right now after having struck out 4 times. Had the home run last night. Now the near out, but instead a double and a run batted in. So 3-1, 3 runs, 5 hits for San Diego. 1 run, 2 hits for the Dodgers. Van Slyke alone with his thoughts now. That's even worse, I guess. So here's Quentin. Fly to left, fouled out, ball 1. We're in the 5th. Padres 3, Dodgers 1. Giants are winning. Dodgers lead the Giants by 1. 1-1. Herron is due to lead off in the bottom of the 5th inning, and Dan, only in the 5th, is coming up to 100 pitches. 1 ball and 1 strike. Nobody out. 1-2. Quentin took a swing almost like he wasn't looking at the ball, or maybe just sitting up here looked that way. One and 2 the count to Carlos Quentin. Two and 2. So Dan ready to make his 100th pitch, averaging 20 pitches an inning. That is no way to do it. And of course he would know more than anybody. And a foul ball out of play. So in the inning, Seth Smith singled into right center, and then Headley, the long drive to center out of the glove of Scott Van Slyke. Smitty scores, sitting quietly in the dugout. Headley out there, and San Diego leading 3-1, and Scott Van Slyke trying to forget, looking at the glove that betrayed him. 2-2. And ball 3. Nobody out. Quentin at the plate with Grandal and Gobert to follow. Grandal a switch hitter, Gobert a left-hand batter. And that's going to be smoked into left center, and it will be cut off with a sliding stop. The run scores. Into second base goes Quentin. It is 4-1 San Diego, and the Dodgers might really pay that price that every manager pays, and that is your pitcher is due up first, and should I hope to get him through the inning rather than use a pinch hitter and also get to the bullpen. And the answer is, I have to go and get him. So for Dan Haren, a rough outing. Still nobody out in the inning. He had a single by Smith. Headley doubles for a run. Quentin doubles for a run. It is 4-1 San Diego, and a downcast Dan Haren walks off after having made 102 pitches. I guess in a way we knew it wasn't going to be his night. Not when you're such a great control pitcher and you walk the very first man you face. We'll be back. Pitches. We gave you a note. This would be his 19th start. Dan's been able to get into the 7th inning only 3 times. Now here's a fella twice won 16 games in the big leagues, and we have to think automatically of a teammate, former teammate, who'll be pitching tomorrow, Ian Kennedy, who was a 21 game winner, and Kennedy is struggling 7-9. Though it happens after many years in the big leagues. 2 former big winners struggling, at least for now. And the Dodgers go to Chris Perez, hoping that he'll come up with a solution. He has not been very effective. Chris 0-3 with an ERA of almost 5. And he's working on Grandal, and a strike, 0-1. Chris Perez can look back over a great past and hope it's not over. I mean, he had 23 saves, 36 saves, 39 saves, 25 saves. Strike 1 pitch, beaten foul, 0-2 to Grandal, who singled and flied to center. In the inning, Seth Smith singled to right. Headley a long fly ball as Scott Van Slyke got his glove on it. It hit him right in the pocket of the glove, but he also then slammed into the wall and gave up the ball for a double. And then Quentin double to score Headley. So there's still nobody out here in the 5th. Padres lead 4-1. All 4 runs are charged to Dan, as is Quentin out there at second base. 1-2 the count. Fastball at 96, and Grandal got a little of it. Chris is a big man. He's 6'4", a good 230. 29 years old. Originally selected by the Cardinals out of the University of Miami. 1-2. Ground ball up the middle, backhanded by Gordon to make the play. So he took a base hit and a run batted in from Grandal. Quentin is now at third. Another fine play by D. Gordon, and the batter will be Jake Gobert. D really had to go some. He was in the hole, had to go way over to his right, and makes that off-balance throw accurately. No chance to plant, set, and throw. You just got to get rid of it. And he made the play. Admittedly, Grandal, a catcher, does not run that well, but he was hitting left-handed. So it took a very good play to get him. First out of the inning. Quentin now at third. The infield is up. And here's young Jake Gobert. Grounded out and lined out. He hit a bullet, and it was flagged by Adrian Gonzalez. Gobert holding his own, batting .310 since being called up. High fly ball to shallow left. Here comes Matt Kemp halfway to the infield. So really there's nowhere for Quentin to go. So Gobert a fly ball, 2 down. And the batter will be Brooks Conrad. Brooks Conrad struck out and popped up. Dan Harron struck out 8 in the game where the Dodgers lost 7-1. He struck out 5 tonight in 4 innings plus. And he and the ball club losing 4-1. All alone. I'm sure that's how he feels right now. No one on the bench. His job done for the night. Oh, and 1. Nice block by Butera. That could have caused a run. Any way you look at it, it's 4-1 San Diego. In the dirt. Nice short hop. They'll put a new ball in play. Fastball in the dirt. You sure have to have quick hands. 2 balls and 1 strike to count. Watch Butera. Backhand, which is a little dangerous. I think if you showed that to Drew, he would probably say, I should have turned the glove around, especially with a runner at third. A.J. Ellis would, I'm sure, agree. 3-1 to count to Conrad. And the veteran, Will Venable, left-hand batter on deck. Padres 4 left-hand hitters and 3 switch hitters. 3-1 to count. Trying to hit that corner, just did. 3-2. Brooks struck out, popped to short. Little nubber. Perez bare hands, throws to first. So the Dodgers get out of it cheaply enough. 2 runs, 3 hits, and a runner left at third. And at the end of 4.5 innings, 4-1 San Diego. tough, hard work. 2 more games with San Diego, and then 4 days off for the All-Star game. And then look out. The Dodgers play St. Louis, Pittsburgh, and San Francisco all on the road. They come home and play Atlanta, the Cubs, and then 4 in a row with the Angels, plus a trip to Milwaukee and to Atlanta. So the Dodgers really have a tough schedule. Even when they come home, they'll have to play Milwaukee again. So by the time they're in the middle of August, even the supermoon will pose a problem. It is as close to the Earth, I believe, as it gets, and we're going to have another supermoon, I believe, in August, and another one in September. Unless they tell you about it, you probably wouldn't notice. Meanwhile, look who's here. Long time no see. Carl Crawford hitting .267. Crawford, remember, out with a seriously sprained ankle, has appeared in only 44 games, and the Dodgers are playing game number 95. And a strike. So Crawford batting for Perez, trying to get something started in the 5th inning. 4-1 Padres. One ball and 1 strike. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Jamie Wright begins to loosen up. Don Mattingly said before the game, tomorrow's pitcher will depend on who pitches tonight. Foul ball, 1-2. They were talking about, well, maybe it would be the left-hander Paul Maholm. Maybe they'd have to get a rush call to Albuquerque for Red Patterson. But let's put it this way. If they get through the game without having to use Maholm, you would figure he would be pitching tomorrow night against Ian Kennedy. 2-2 the count to Carl Crawford. Kennedy, big smile and beard in the dugout. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And down goes Crawford on the foul tip, and we have 1 away. So the batter will be D. Gordon, who has grounded out and singled 1 for 2. For Jesse Hahn, this, of course, is an important inning. As the starting pitcher, he is required to go 5 innings in order to pick up a victory. Well, he's leading 4-1, and he is 1 out in the 5th. Chris Perez, by the way, made 13 pitches in relief. Little chopper to Conrad. That'll do it for Gordon. So the Dodgers seeing a young Jesse Hahn. They saw a 27-year-old right-hander in Despaigne, and Despaigne might have beaten the Dodgers last night. We'll never know. You remember the Padres last evening made 4 errors. Oh yes, Kershaw struck out 11, but with a better fielding team, the Padres would have been dead even. So here's Puig, walk, grounded out, and promptly bangs it into center. Got a fastball, and that's always Christmas morning for Yasiel Puig. He's not going to hang around on a first pitch fastball, and he singles to center. So now the batter is Adrian Gonzalez. Dodgers only have 3 hits against Jesse Hahn. So Puig at first with 2 out. Adrian Gonzalez grounded out and flied to left. Hitting back of him, Matt Kemp. The latest report, the Giants are handling Arizona easily. 5-0 San Francisco. They're in the 6th inning. Two 2-0 the count. 2 balls and no strikes. Adrian Gonzalez, 2 out, 5th inning, 4-1 San Diego. You want to talk about placement? Look at the second baseman, Brooks Conrad. That's why D. Gordon took ground balls in on the infield grass, knowing that he could be playing in right field, fielding ground balls on the outfield grass. Haven't seen anybody else do it, but it's typical of D. And that'll be ball 4 to Gonzalez. So the Dodgers now have a look at the game in the sense that the hitter, Matt Kemp, represents the possible tying run. Darren Balsley on the way out to talk to his young right-hander. He has walked 4. He has allowed only 3 hits. And he has struck out 5. More than anything else, I'm sure, they're talking to Jesse Hahn about pitch selection. Now, Matt Kemp got a breaking ball up and singled, and then walked in the 3rd inning. Matt, 8 home runs, 35 runs batted in. And ball 1. Yasiel Puig, as usual, feeling a little frisky out there at second base. And what he's trying to do, if nothing else, is make Brooks Conrad, the second baseman, come closer to the bag and open up the infield. Amaristi, the shortstop, he is on the rim, a deep short, spikes almost on the grass. 1 ball and no strikes. Hahn, by the way, as a young pitcher new to the league, has allowed 2 home runs. I'm sure you were thinking about that. Kemp's last home run was in Kansas City. 2-0. Well, Balsley's on the phone talking to the bullpen, but they are just now responding to the call. So they don't have anybody ready to bring in. Blaine Boyer, the right-hander, is first up in the pen. 2-0 to Matt. Slow curveball. Matt couldn't resist taking a cut at it. 2-1. (4-1) Padres, 2 out in the 5th. Dodgers have runners at first and second. Off speed again, another slow breaking ball, and the count 2-2. That thing is in no hurry to get up to the plate. Coming up 74, 75. Well, after all those slow pitches, when do you think he's going to pull the trigger? Hit almost took the heels of Lorenzo Bundy. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, he's given him slow curves. Remember, he does have a slider, and they count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Slow curveball. All of them in the 70s. Matt breaks his bat over his knee. Try that one time. Wow. So Hahn is off the hook, and at the end of 5, 4-1 San Diego. player who ever played the game, according to most experts, was the beginning of George Herman Babe Ruth as a major league player in 1914. You think of him with home runs, of course, but he was a very, very successful pitcher. In fact, Babe Ruth, before he started hitting home runs and playing the outfield, won 94 games. Tell you a little story. In the spring of 1923, they were building Yankee Stadium, and a newspaper man took Babe Ruth up to the stadium to see the construction. There was snow on the ground, and the New York newspaper man had brought a bat and a couple of balls, and he said to Babe, "I'll pitch you and see if you can hit a home run before the ballpark is built." Well, the reporter pitched, and Ruth hit several up into the construction. One of the construction men kept the ball and wisely put it in a safe deposit box. 70 years later, that ball went on auction for $500,000. Let's go back to this one. Will Venable facing Jamie Wright. Padres leading 4-1. Carl Crawford is in left field for Matt Kemp. We're in the 6th. You know, you think of Babe Ruth as a big-time good guy, big smile, big spender. Everything went his way. And as so often happens, if you dig back into the lives of so many of these players, there's a lot of heartache, a lot of pain, all kinds of problems. You only think of them as big stars. Babe Ruth's, let me see, he had 8 siblings, and 6 of the 8 died at very, very young ages. His mother died of tuberculosis. His father, and that's going to be a base hit. His father owned, as they called them, a saloon in Baltimore, and his father got into an argument, and right outside the saloon, he was stabbed to death. So that's why Babe Ruth went to the industrial school for boys. His parents were gone. Most of his brothers and sisters were gone. And where is that saloon, do you think? What happened to it? Well, it would be exactly about 75 yards beyond second base at Camden Yards in Baltimore. So when you think of Babe Ruth, yeah, good time Charlie, but boy, he had a tough life. 4-1 in favor of San Diego. We're in the 6th inning. Venable with a base hit. Here's Amarista, who hit the home run to surprise a lot of people in the 2nd inning. Amarista is playing every day because Everett Cabrera is on the DL. So the Padres have been victimized indeed with injuries. As we mentioned earlier, despite the fact they're last in team batting average and last in runs scored, they're still 3rd place ahead of Colorado and Arizona. High fly ball right down the line. Puig coming hard, makes the catch in foul ground. So Amarista fouls out. Venable holding. And Jesse Hahn coming up. They're in the 7th inning up north. Giants 5, Arizona nothing. Hahn has struck out and grounded out, 0 for 2, and with 1 out, and Venable, pretty good base runner at first. Dodgers decide Hahn will be up here to bunt. Shows bunt. By the way, to conclude the story about Babe Ruth hitting one to a construction worker while Yankee Stadium was being built, that would probably be March of 1923. The stadium opened April the 18th, 1923. And what do you think happened? Babe Ruth hit a 3-run home run, the first home run to ever be hit at Yankee Stadium, the house that Ruth built. 0-1 to Hahn. Four runs, 7 hits for San Diego, 1 run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. Uribe well in on the grass, looking bunt. Hahn obliges and shows bunt, but they're still interested in Venable. Remember, Venable stole second base in the 4th inning. Full swing. Short hop by Uribe. Throw in time. No, make it safe at second. And he indicates that Rojas came off the bag to handle the throw. Mattingly, let's see if he comes out. They're going to check, I believe. Instead of Mattingly going out, they're going to see if it's worth a trip. There's the hopper. Uribe makes the throw. Very close. And you can see, oh sure, Rojas off the bag by a good foot. Good foot. And good call by second base umpire Jim Wolf. Not even close. They talk about the old neighborhood play, but that was out of the neighborhood. That was more in the suburbs. So first and second, it'll be ruled a fielder's choice. Now here is Seth Smith. And that's in the dirt, and that'll put runners at second and third. It'll be a wild pitch. A wild pitch really hurt the Dodgers back in the 2nd inning. Venable struck out on a wild pitch, and then Amarista came up and hit a 2-run home run. For the Dodgers, they will now have to walk Smith intentionally and face Chase Headley. For the Dodgers, they certainly have to resist the temptation of feeling this game is starting to slip sliding away. Lorenzo Bundy talking to Don Mattingly. So now Jamie will face, with the bases full, Chase Headley, who has struck out twice, doubled into and out of the glove of Scott Van Slyke. The same Headley who hit the home run last night to put to an end the scoreless string for Clayton Kershaw. And now he's up there to really make an impact on the game. Infield in double play depth. And a strike. Chase Headley, in talking about double play depth, he leads the Padres in grounding into double plays. He's grounded into 11. Ground foul. 0-2. Jose Valentin coaching at first, and old friend Glenn Hoffman coaching at third. Chase Headley has 3 grand slams in his career. Hit one against the Dodgers 2 years ago against Scott Elbert. Elbert, by the way, making a comeback and is pitching tonight in Rancho Cucamonga. And back to the box. They will get one. Boy, Jamie Wright took a long time. I guess he was just afraid of making a mistake, but that took forever to get the ball to Butera. So they didn't even have a chance to throw to first to come up with a double play. Watch Jamie now. and just runs with it, and then kind of a baby toss to Butera. That's a four-finger grip. So that took the double play right out of it. 2 down now, and the batter Carlos Quentin. And ball 1. So everybody else moves up. Jesse Hahn is now at third. Seth Smith is at second. Chase Headley is at first. 4-1 San Diego. Quentin flied to left, fouled out, and doubled. And grounds one by the diving Gordon, and that's going to mean 2 runs. Puig's throw is to third. Plenty of time for the third out, but the runs are in the books. So Chase Headley is nailed trying to go from first to third by Puig, but the damage is done. 2 big runs come across, and the Padres now lead 6-1. California Mazda dealer. Beautiful evening here in Los Angeles when the ball game began. 72 degrees. However, the Padres are the ones frolicking here in the good night. Bud Black's club has scored 6 times, which is news. I think they played 59 times where they've scored 3 runs or less. And as you can see, when they score 4 or more, their record is 28-4, and they are leading 6-1 here in the 6th inning. You know, unless the Dodgers do something, we should try and give you a little couple of thoughts. We were talking about Babe Ruth and some of the stories with his name. You know, if you compare 2 dominant left-handed young pitchers, one from the 20th century and the other the 21st century. The 20th century left-hander won 94. The 21st century left-hander has won 88. The 20th century left-hander's earned run average 2.2. The 21st century left-hander earned run average 2.5. Well, as you probably guessed, the 94 game winner and his earned run average, the 4th best all time for a left-hand pitcher with at least 1,000 innings. The 88 game winner's career of 2.5, 15th best all time for a left-hand pitcher. And who are the pitchers? Well, you've guessed by now. Babe Ruth and Clayton Kershaw. Now we know Clayton Kershaw had a string of 41 consecutive scoreless as we watch a pop fly to Amarista off the bat of Scott Van Slyke. And we have one away. Anyway, we know about Clayton's 41. How about Babe Ruth? You know that Ruth, whose name means home runs to most people, also had a World Series pitching record for decades, a 29-inning scoreless inning streak. He helped the Red Sox to 3 World Series championships, and that string wasn't broken until Whitey Ford came along 4 decades later with the Yankees. Ruth, by the way, in compiling the 29 consecutive scoreless innings in the World Series, started 13 consecutive scoreless innings against, you guessed it, the Brooklyn Dodgers. Back in the 1916 World Series, the Dodgers had a home run in the first inning. The game went 14 innings. The Red Sox beat the Dodgers 2-1, and the 13-inning scoreless turned in by the Babe, who went on to have 16 more scoreless innings in the World Series to give him 29. So when you are talking about Babe Ruth, I think most of the experts will tell you he was the greatest player to ever play the game. 1-2. Little slider off the end of the bat. One away here in the 6th inning. Dodgers got a run in the first inning, and they've not been heard from since. Young Jesse Hahn, 4-2 in his 7th major league game. Another slider. They're going to check no swing, says David Rackley. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Hahn made 101 pitches. Curveball hit foul in his last game. He's now coming up to 90. If you're from Connecticut, you're pitching at Citi Field in New York with your family sitting behind the dugout. If you can keep your cool, you're a big leaguer. Gobert making the catch of the foul ball. That's what Hahn did when he made his debut and beat the Mets.
For the Dodgers, shortstop number 72, Miguel Rojas.
Miguel Rojas, playing for Hanley Ramirez, has grounded to third, grounded to short. Dodgers will get Ian Kennedy tomorrow night, and at least from the looks of things, unless they get deeper into the bullpen, you have to figure that Paul Maholm will go against Ian Kennedy with the full beard. Slow breaking ball for a strike. Beautiful pitch. Anyway, if things go the way they're going, it looks like Paul Maholm, the left-hander, but we'll see. 1 ball and 1 strike. From Groton, Connecticut, Jesse Hahn. Drops that in nicely. He's walked 4. He has struck out 6. Two out, 1 ball and 2 strikes to Rojas. That's been his fastball all night. 292. I don't think he's thrown above that. They did say that his fastball, the 4-seamer, had been clocked at 98, but we haven't seen him come close to 98. 92 is about right. Fastball, little roller. That was 92. So he puts the brand on that, retires the Dodgers in order, and at the end of 6, he walks off. No, he walks jauntily off, leading 6-1. MLB TV Premium, #1 live streaming sports service, celebrating 12 years. So join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. Visit Dodgers.com for details. Well, before you go to sleep, don't forget what I told you. The first home run ever hit in Yankee Stadium was hit by Babe Ruth before the stadium even opened. Okay? Now you can go to sleep. Good night. And a strike, the Yasmani Grandal. Giants putting the D-backs to sleep. 5-0 San Francisco in the 8th inning. Oh, 2. Grandal singled, flied to center, grounded out. He singled when Uribe was all alone between second and third on the overshift, and he just did hit it to the left of Uribe, and Juan tried but couldn't catch it. And down he goes on his steady diet of breaking balls. So 1 out in the 7th inning. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 7th, they'll have Butera and then Crawford. Remember, Carl Crawford is in left field batting 9th, and then D. Gordon. Crawford appeared as a pinch hitter, struck out, and stayed in. Wright is in Matt Kemp's spot. And ball 1. And that's a strike. 1-1 the count. Fistful of deuces for San Diego. 2 in the 2nd, 2 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th. The Dodger one murmur of protest in the 1st inning. On the handle. 2 down.
Second baseman, number 11.
Gordon has sparkled at second base tonight as usual. He's also 1 for 3 with the bat, and he'll be hitting third when the Dodgers come up in the 7th. Brooks Conrad struck out, popped up, hit back to the box, struggling at 100. 0-1. Jamie made 17 pitches in the 8th inning, so he's now made 24. Fastball 0-2. Dan Herron went 4+, then Chris Perez and Jamie Wright. You know, it's an amazing note, kind of amazing, in looking at the Dodger bullpen. We are in July. We're well into July, July the 11th. How many pitches in the month of July do you think Kenley Jansen has made in the month of July? You don't have to guess. 8. Oucho. See you later goes Conrad. 2 strikeouts for Jamie Wright. And we're heading for the bottom of the 7th inning with San Diego leading. Oh, my goodness, there's an angel with a pink bow in her hair. And besides that, it's 6-1 San Diego. 7th inning, and Bud Black makes 2 moves. First of all, he brings in a new second baseman, Irving Falou, and a new pitcher, Blaine Boyer. Falou bats 9th, which means he'll bat 3rd in the 8th inning. And Boyer will go into Brooks Conrad's spot. For Blaine Boyer, this is a birthday day for him. 33 years old today, born in Atlanta, Georgia. So Blaine lives in Marietta, Georgia now. 3rd round pick by the Braves way back in 2000. Fastball for a strike, 0-1. Blaine, big boy, 6'3", 215 pounds. Came up with the Braves in 05. Eventually went to the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks, the Mets, and now the Padres. Fastball foul back, thrown hard at 94. Dodgers scored their only run in the 1st inning. Puig walked and eventually scored on a single by Matt Kemp. But it's been San Diego ever since. And a drive to right center and deep. Digging for it is Venable. This one is high off the wall. Will gets it back to the infield. Butera with a leadoff double. So Drew Butera doubles high off the wall. Carl Crawford will be coming up. Remember, Crawford batted for Chris Perez and stayed in the game. Another fastball, and this time Butera got the bat on the ball and drilled it. Just missed going out by a foot or two at the most. So Butera, a leadoff double. That would be his 4th double of the year. Now Carl Crawford. Pedro Baez begins to warm up. Right-hander in the Dodger bullpen. And ball 1. Crawford out for so long, since late May, when he suffered that severe ankle sprain. 1 ball and no strikes. Fastball in the dirt. 2-0 the count. Crawford, born in Houston, lives over in Scottsdale. Carl was originally a 2nd round pick by the Devil Rays. He went from the Rays to the Red Sox and to the Dodgers. Two 2-0. 2-1. Jesse Hahn, who did so well for 6 innings, allowed 1 run, held the Dodgers to 3 hits. Very impressive. Now becomes a spectator. 3-1 the count to Crawford. Waiting on deck, D. Gordon. Dodgers down by 5, and we're in the bottom of the 7th. And he walked him. So Blaine Boyer gives up a double and a walk, and the batter will be D. Gordon. The closest the Dodgers have had as a look to the game was in the 5th inning. In the 5th inning, the Dodgers were trailing 2-1, and they had 2 on with 2 out, only to have Matt Kemp strike out. Now it is 6-1. Bud Black sending word to get the bullpen up. And that has been a definite strength of the Padres. Their bullpen has been outstanding. That's ball 1. Kevin Quackenbush We saw him last night. He's up tonight. Coming into the game, the San Diego bullpen had the lowest ERA among National League relievers, 2.4. They've been dynamite. That's a strike. The San Diego bullpen has only lost 6 games. They've only blown 4 saves. So Bud has a strength back of right field. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fouled off, 1-2. Baylor throwing hard, hitting 94 consistently. Down in the Dodger bullpen, J.P. Howell joins Pedro Baez. Dodgers are fully aware that the Giants are breezing at AT&T Park. 6-1 San Diego, 2 on, nobody out, 7th inning. And hit foul. Again, Boyer is really relying on that 94-mile-an-hour fastball. He's the fella, you might remember the story. He went to elementary school with Bobby Cox's daughter. Bobby, of course, the manager and then the general manager of the Braves, heading for the Hall of Fame this summer with Tony La Russa and Joe Torre. 1-2. And a line drive or a trap, and they will not get the double play. Sinking line drive. Nice play at third, and it turns into a force play. I think, yeah, it was tough to see up here. Take a look. Is this a trap? I think Chase Headley thinks that it was a line drive. That should have been 2, at least a double play. Now, Bud Black is not going to come out. Darren Balsley is coming out. He's talking to Brian Gorman. Headley goes to the mound to join the team. The discussion belongs to the pitching coach, and we will see if there's a response from the dugout. The Black has had a few words and checking with Balsley or maybe Dave Roberts. It was a tough call. Sitting up here, it was virtually impossible to tell. And for Brian Gorman, it had to be hard because the ball was hit to the gloved side of Headley, and Brian is directly behind the third baseman. Meanwhile, Headley talking to Butera. So 1 out, Dodgers at first and third, as Gordon winds up hitting into a force play. Yasiel Puig, walk, grounded to short, single to center, scored the only Dodger run in the first inning. For the Dodgers to get a run at third base is news since the first inning. And ball 1. Down in the bullpen for the Padres, Kevin Quackenbush is now joined by the left-hander Alex Torres. Torres is the fella who has an inner lining in the baseball cap. If you're looking, you might see that cap doesn't fit like the normal fit. That's because there's a protective lining in there. 1 ball, no strikes. Fastball driven to the gap in right center. That's heading for the wall. 1 run will score, and stopping at third is Gordon on a long double by Puig, and it's now 6-2 San Diego. So Puig has been on base 3 times, walked, scored a run, singled, and now doubles in 1. And of course, that line drive, that sinking line drive by Gordon, gets to be a bigger play in the inning. And now it looks like Bud's going to make the decision And that'll be that for Blaine Boyer. So the Dodgers down 6-2. Boyer will leave. The batter's Gonzalez, so we would think the left-hander Alex will be coming in. Torres appeared ready, so we'll be right back. Third birthday today. Didn't turn out to be a happy birthday. It is a bit of a surprise. I'll tell you why. Right-hand batters had been 0 for 26 against Blaine Boyer, but the right-hand batters went 2 for 2 tonight. One of the big hits by a right-hand batter was Yasiel Puig against Blaine, and that was the ball fastball. He drove into deep right center, short hopped the wall, and the Dodgers picked up a run. They have runners at second and third thanks to Puig. And with a 6-2 score, Alex Torres, the left-hander, coming in. Torres has never been hit in the head, thank goodness for that. But even so, he is a wise man who feels that he'll be more comfortable knowing that he's a little bit better protected. So it's like having plastic inserts inside the cap, and I'm sure it gives him, among other things, a little extra mental confidence as he goes to work. Alex is from Venezuela. He's 5'10", 175, only 26 years old. Be 27 in December. High fly ball. It's deep enough to get a run in. The catch by Quentin. Going to the plate is Puig, and going tag out is Puig. Let's watch. The run did score, and Puig makes a bad play. With the Dodgers needing runs, he gives up a run on the base paths, although Gordon did score. But that's a killer. And at the end of 7, it is 6-3 San Diego. takes the Dodgers out of the 7th inning. They're still short by 3. It is 6-3 San Diego, and J.P. Howell has now come in out of the bullpen to pick up for Jamie Wright. So the wild horse is still the wild horse. He might be a National League All-Star. He might be a marvelously exciting player, but every now and then fill in the gaps. So JP, he'll be pitching to Will Venable, then Amarista, and then Irving Fowler, who came into the game at second base. JP has done a tremendous job, as his earned run average would show you. Venable struck out, singled again. He was out at the plate on a bases loaded comebacker to Jamie Wright. He struck out in the 2nd inning on a wild pitch, and then Amarista came up with Venable at first and hit a home run. So it's 6 runs, 8 hits for San Diego, 3 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers, and the starters are still the pitcher of record, Jesse Hahn and Dan Haren. Ground ball to the hole, backhanded by Rojas. Long throw, but Venable is too fast and beats it out. So for Venable, he comes in with his 3rd hit tonight.
Shortstop number 5, Alexi Amarista.
So Venable at first. Hit number 1 off Howell. Hit number 9 for San Diego. Rojas makes a fine play, but Venable left-handed and great speed anyway. So a nice try by Miguel Amarista. Homered, walked, fouled out. Bunch foul. Giants are leading the D-backs by the neck, I think, 5-0 in the 9th inning. Brian Wilson is up in the Dodger bullpen because Howell is due to lead off in the 8th inning. Joaquin Benoit starts to warm up, the right-hander for San Diego. We're in the 8th, 6-3 Padres. Venable has stolen 3 bases, 3 out of 6. He did steal in the 4th inning, so he's now stolen 4 out of 7. Uribe's in on the grass at 3rd. Curveball bunted. The play is to first base. So the sacrifice works. I'm a little surprised that J.P. Howell threw that slow curveball. In most bunt situations, and with Amarista was showing bunt, you'd expect to see the fastball, which is more difficult to bunt. But he gave him that nice big slow curveball, and Amarista said, "Thank you very much. I'll just drop it down in front of the plate." So the damage is done. The sacrifice. Amarista does his job. Venable is now at second. And here's Irving Fowler, F-A-L-U, a recent call-up. We have never seen him before. Irving Fowler is from Puerto Rico, originally drafted by the Royals out of Indian Hills Community College in Iowa. 5'10", 175. just turned 31, kind of slices that thing, a grass cutter. So with 2 down, Venable reaches third, and the batter will be Seth Smith.
Right fielder, number 12, Seth Smith.
Seth Smith walked leading off the game. That had to be a shock, especially to anyone aware of the prowess of Dan Haren to throw strikes. Smith robbed of a hit in the 2nd inning on a dazzling play by D. Gordon. Singled to right and scored a run in the 5th inning, and was walked intentionally and scored a run in the 6th inning. So Seth hitting .282. Hanley Ramirez alongside, probably will be coming up to bat maybe for Howell. So I guess you could just about pencil in Ramirez batting for Howell, then Van Slyke and Uribe in the bottom of the 8th. Strike. Dodgers give Seth Smith the shortstop hold. Rojas is not quite but almost behind the bag at second. Gordon 2-3 feet out on the grass. With a runner at third, they can't afford to overshift. Nice block by Butera. With a runner at third, we're always conscious of the possibility of a wild pitch. Howell has committed 2. One ball and 1 strike. James Phillip Howell, the pride of Modesto in Phoenix, Arizona. Fastball just missed. 2-1. JP's an even 6, about 190. 31 years old. Originally a first-round pick of the Royals. Went from the Royals to the Devil Rays and eventually to the Dodgers. And ball 3, good block by Butera. No swings, says Brian. For Howell to allow a hit to a left-hand hitter is somewhat unusual. He gave up that single to Will Venable. This year, opposing left-handers were hitting 135 against him. And then Venable got the infield single on the ground ball to the hole. 3-1 to count to Seth Smith. Line drive right up the middle. Backed up by Rojas to throw him out. Whoa. JP is fortunate. I think that went between his legs. And it was ripped. And we are heading to the bottom of the 8th inning. But before we do, let's take another look. Right through it, about at the ankles. And Rojas perfectly positioned. So it's the bottom of the 8th, 6-3 San Diego. Bad with Joe Torre. Join us for a sit down with Joe as he talks about his career managing the Yankees and the Dodgers. So don't miss Larry King at Bat with Joe Torre Sunday at 5 on Sportsnet LA. Well, we saw Hanley Ramirez talking to his manager, putting on a batting glove, but Joaquin Benoit coming out of the pen, and the Dodgers will send up Andre Ethier instead. For the Dodgers, Jamie Wright made 27 pitches. J.P. Howell 11. Alex Torres made just 1. Joaquin Benoit is from Santiago in the Dominican Republic. He's a good size, 6'3", 220. He has a birthday coming up. He will be 37 years old on the 26th of July. Originally a free agent by the Rangers, and he went from the Rangers to the Rays to the Tigers to the Padres. Fastball strike to Andre. Ethier, as we mentioned earlier, is pretty well banged up. Foul pitch is off his legs, and this is the time, if you're not going to the All-Star game, you really need the break, and he'd be one of them, I'm sure, who welcomes the break. Bounce that one. 1 ball and 1 strike to Andre. Ethier hitting .262 against right-handers, but less than .200 against lefties. 4 home runs, 34 runs batted in. He played Wednesday at Detroit and went 0 for 3. 1-1. And ball 2. 2-1. Benoit, the son of a fisherman. His dad used to wake him up once a week at 1 a.m. to go fishing, searching for crab and shrimp to sell. And ball 3. 3-1. Basically, Benoit, a fastball that's been clocked as high at 97, has a changeup and a slider. 3-1 to Ethier. Fastball at 95. 3-2. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Kenley Jansen warming up. Remember, we told you he's only made 8 pitches in the month of July. 3-2 on Ethier. The odds are against him. We'll tell you why. That's ball 4. On a 3-2 count, the batters are 1 for 18 against Benoit, and Ethier winds up with a walk. Scott Van Slyke is 0 for 3. Flied to center, struck out, popped to short, and of course Scotty still trying to get over the long double in and out of his glove as he crashed into the center field fence. That meant 2 runs. And a strike. 0-1. Final score: Giants 5, D-backs nothing. Tim Lincecum shuts down Arizona and Paul Goldschmidt. That's news in itself. Fastball missed, so he's staying 94-95. One and one. Fastball. They're going to check. Did he swing? No. 2 balls, 1 strike. Little noise comes out of the Padre dugout. Dave Rackley looks over there. Now goes back to his position. Bud Black or someone let out a holler. 2-1 the count. On deck, Juan Uribe. 6 runs, 9 hits for the Padres. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Fastball, and at 95. Scotty, 8 home runs, 16 runs batted in. Ether at first, nobody out in the 8th. 6-3 San Diego. Ground ball into right field. Ethier will stop at second as the throw will come in from Seth Smith. So the Dodgers now have Juan Uribe coming up as the potential tying run. So Benoit gives up a hit and a walk. So Bud Black relying on a bullpen that has been wonderful, but struggling a bit as Boyer came in, gave up a double, a walk, a force play, another double. Might have been more for the Dodgers. Puig made a bad play and took them out of the infield, trying to go from second to third on a cutoff from the left fielder. Uribe has struck out twice, fouled out, but that was against Jesse Hahn. Foul back, 0-1. Uribe from San Cristobal in the Dominican against Benoit from Santiago. That last pitch was 96. He has only been throwing fastballs, and they're fast. 95, 94, and now 96. Oh and 1 to Juan. He has 5 home runs, 26 runs batted in. So Benoit, after throwing all those fastballs, breaks off one. Pretty good slider. 0-2. Slider at 85. Still up there, 0-2. In the inning, Ethier walked. Van Slyke single to right. And you have Uribe followed by Rojas and then Butera, unless Mattingly makes a move. We did see Hanley Ramirez putting a batting glove on. Now we see he has the 2 gloves and the helmet. So we shall see. No balls and 2 strikes. Bottom of the 8th. In the dirt. It'll get behind the catcher for the moment, And the runners move up to second and third. It'll be a wild pitch. So Benoit in some trouble now. In the dirt, and the ball kicks around. Grandal wasn't quite sure where it was, and by the time he played the bounce, everybody had advanced. So 1 ball and 2 strikes. Last time Benoit pitched for San Diego, it was against Colorado, and he gave up 2 home runs and 3 runs. That was his first bad outing since coming over. 1-2 the count. Fouled away. So Uribe hanging tough, 96-mile-an-hour fastball. I mean, it's heat. The one time he threw the slider, he threw it in the dirt. A.J. Ellis looks like he's getting ready. Hanley Ramirez is right there. 1-2 to Juan Uribe. Hanley looks like he might hit for Rojas, which means he would then probably have to play briefly defensive ball. Got him. So Uribe strikes out a 3rd time tonight, and this time with runners at second and third. The speed went from 96 down to that pitch, which is 87, and it was a slider. So Uribe goes down, and now Rojas is coming up, and Hanley will not bat for him. A.J. Ellis is out on deck. I'm not sure. Hanley Ramirez might just have been a decoy, because he now goes back down the steps, takes off the helmet, and looks like he's putting the gear away. So that was a big out. 1 down, runners at second and third. Padres still lead 6-3. And a strike at 95. So the big guy relying basically on the fastball with the occasional slider. Dodgers are not only fighting to come from behind, they're battling to stay in first place. The Giants won. Mattingly and company lose. It's moving night. 0-1. In the dirt. 1-1. Joaquin Benoit. With the Tigers last year, Benoit saved 24 games. He was 4-1, and his earned run average was 2. So he is one tough hombre. Sliced foul down the line. 1-2 the count. What kind of a fella is Benoit? Well, back in 2010, he was named the winner of the Tony Conigliaro Award, honoring his comeback from rotator cuff surgery to become one of baseball's best setup man. It was presented annually by the Boston Red Sox in memory of the former slugging outfielder who came back from a devastating pitch to the face and returned to the big leagues. 1-2. Check swing. He's done. So the Dodgers have both Uribe and Rojas strike out, and the batter will be A.J. Ellis. to bat for Butera. By the way, as the Dodgers flail away and go down on fastballs and sliders, the paid attendance tonight, 46,073. 46,073. So here's A.J. Ellis. Ellis last night went 0 for 3. Reached on an error, flied to right, and struck out. Dodgers won 2-1 last night. They finally scraped to get 3 tonight. Ground foul right by Lorenzo Bundy. I sure wish he had an earpiece covering that right ear. That pitch was 95 miles an hour, and it left the bat going 95. 0-1. Lorenzo's too busy shepherding the runners at second and third. Ethier down the line from third. Van Slyke from second. 2 outs later. Slider down and away. 0-2. One and two. Big man throwing hard, hitting 96 as a high, and that sharp slider. Two and two. Bud Black, who knows what it's like to be out there on the mound. He had a great career as a pitcher. Sweating this one out. So deuce is really wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on at second and third. And the Padres lead 6-3. It's a staring contest. Time, too much time. Two balls and 2 strikes. Three and two. First base open. And Carl Crawford, remember, who came into the game as a pinch hitter back in the 5th inning, is on deck. Three and two, 2 out. First base open. Dodgers down by 3 in the 8th. Benoit underwent surgery to repair a torn right labrum back in '09. But boy, he has really recovered. to be thrown at 96. And laid off. It's no swing, ball 4, and the bases are loaded for Carl Crawford. So Darren Balsley out to talk to the big right-hander. That was quite a battle, and it was won by A.J. Ellis. So 2 walks and a single and a wild pitch. But the Dodgers had Uribe strike out, Rojas strike out, and now Carl Crawford will be coming up with a bases loaded 2 down, and the Dodgers down by 3. Remember, the Dodgers lost a possible extra run. Yasiel Puig ran them out of the 7th inning. So it's Benoit versus Crawford. And looking at the past to see if it tells us anything about the future. Crawford 0 for 5 against Benoit. Foul ball. Not only 0 for 5, he has struck out 3 times against the hard-throwing right-hander. Crawford's second at bat of the night. Struck out in the 5th inning, then walked in the 7th. So basically his second official at bat. 0-1. Tying runs aboard with 2 out. And Crawford in a hole now. No balls and 2 strikes. For Benoit, working very hard. This will be his 30th pitch. Ethier, Van Slyke, and Ellis. And ground ball to short. And they'll get the force play, and the Dodgers leave the tying runs on the bases. And at the end of 8, 30 pitches later, Benoit walks off, and the Padres lead 6-3. Ethier stays in the game in center field. Scott Van Slyke, who's been playing. A.J. Ellis, having gotten that walk, stays in the game behind the plate. And Scott Van Slyke moves over, and Kenley Jansen enters the game. Remember, we told you Kenley is not only not worked much, he's made only 8 pitches in the month of July. Well, that puts a lot of pressure on him to throw strikes. And by the way, the Dodgers this year are one of the poorest teams I think they've had in years with the bases loaded. The Dodgers have had the bases loaded 63 times this year. 63 times, and they're hitting 175. So Crawford, after making a couple of appearances, struck out, walked, hit into a force play. He gives way. And it'll be up to Kenley Jansen now against Headley, Quentin, and Grandal. Headley struck out twice, but he also doubled and hit into a force play. He was thrown out trying to go from first to third in the 6th inning by Yasiel Puig, and he taps one to Gordon. So 1 pitch, 1 away.
Coming to the plate, number 18, Carlos Quentin.
Carlos Quentin flied to left, fouled out, doubled, and singled to right. One ball and no strike. It's 6 runs, 9 hits for San Diego, 3 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. Two and 0. When the Dodgers bat in the 9th inning, they will have D. Gordon, followed by Yasiel Puig, followed by Adrian Gonzalez, and if anybody gets on, Andre Ethier. 2-0 to Carlos Quentin with Yasmani Grandal on deck. Boy, has that popped up, and it's Uribe in foul ground. Almost overran it. Yep, he did. That thing was a mile high, and Uribe ran out from under it. Let's see if they give him an error. E5 it is. So Uribe will draw an error. In the old days, they wouldn't give him an error. It depended on the batter. In other words, okay, what you've done is give the batter another chance. If the batter gets on base, then you would get an error. In the old days, if the batter made out, forget about it. 2-1 to count. Uribe, who's been playing dazzling defensive ball, and that thing sure was a big league pop-up. In case you wonder, Uribe has made 5 errors all year. That'll do it for Quentin. So 2 down in the 9th inning, and Yasmani Grandal, switch hitter batting left-handed, coming up. Power fastball. That was 94 miles an hour, the so-called high hard one. So Quentin goes back, and Grandal digs in. Ground ball picked up by Gonzalez. He'll do it himself. So a nice easy inning. So Kenley Jansen made 7 pitches. That means he's made 15 pitches in the month of July. And we're heading with the bottom of the 9th. Gordon, Puig, and Gonzalez. 6-3 Padres. And Bud Back rearranged the outfield. Will Venable, who's played all night in center, has moved over to right. He has given way to Cameron Maben, who's now in center field. And moving from right to left field is Seth Smith, taking Quentin's spot. On the mound, Houston Street will be the 5th San Diego pitcher, trying to lock it up. His ERA shows you what kind of a pitcher he is. An ERA of 1.1. Saving 23 out of 24. As we mentioned, you get into a battle with the San Diego bullpen, and they have just been tremendous. It's been Hahn, followed by Boyer, Torres, Benoit, and now Street. The Dodgers have used Herron, Perez, Wright, Howell, and Jansen. So Houston Street will be working on D. Gordon to start it off. D. Gordon grounded out in single, grounded out and hit into a force play. Off speed. Drops in nicely. D. Gordon 0 for 1 against Street. Nothing to learn from that. And a line drive backhanded by Street. Whoa. Houston Street is an even 6, 190. And great reflexes to take a hit away from Gordon.
Number 66, Yasiel Puig.
Able to snatch at it. Great play. Wow. 1 out. Yasiel Puig walked and scored a run. Grounded to short. Single to center. Doubled. And as Gordon was scoring on a sac fly, he tried to go from second to third, and the Dodgers were run out of the inning. High foul. Back into the crowd, 0-1 to count. Yasiel hitting .310, a dozen home runs, 51 runs batted in. Puig is 0 for 3 and has struck out all 3 times against Street. 0-2. Street, who was the Rookie of the Year in the American League back in 2005. 31 years old. Born in Austin. Went to the University of Texas. His dad was an all-conference pitcher at Texas. And then, of course, most famous as a quarterback as Puig strikes out. Jim Street led the Longhorns to the 1970 Cotton Bowl championship. So Street takes care of Puig again. So he's faced him 4 times and he has struck him out 4 times. And the batter, Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez grounded out, flied to left, walked, flied to left again, and that was a sacrifice fly to score Gordon. And a strike. So Street just comes in and throws strikes. And looking at his numbers, 7 walks, 34 strikeouts, so almost 5-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ian Kennedy tomorrow night. Our guess is Paul Mahallam, since Paul did not get up in the bullpen. Perez, Wright, Howell, and Jansen did, but we'll wait and see. Ball 2. One thing we know, the Giants won, and the Dodgers on the edge of losing, though they'll play musical chairs again. Two balls, 1 strike. Juan Uribe had a tough night, struck out 3 times, so no games, no fun with Yasiel Puig, not tonight. Dodgers have won 5 of 7 from San Diego. And ball 3. Waiting on deck, Andre Ethier. Fouled away. (6-9-0) for San Diego. 3-6-1 for the Dodgers. Ground ball wide of first. Up with it is Gobert. Takes it to the bag. And that will be that. Dodgers go